Federal Military Courtroom Number 3. A June morning. Sunlight slashed through the towering windows like gleaming blades, slicing across a silent crowd heavy with breathless expectation. The air was thick, not from heat, but from the weight of judgment already passed in people's minds. A black soldier had killed a white general. Today, he would pay. Then the heavy door creaked open. 2 MPs in black tactical armor led in a tall black man, wrists shackled, head slightly bowed, but eyes held high. Malik Rowe, former Navy SEAL sniper, now on trial for allegedly killing a white commanding general during a mission in Syria. The orange jumpsuit clung tight to his solid, battle-hardened frame. A shaved head, square jaw, and a face carved from stone. But it was his eyes that silenced the room. Not pleading, not guilty, just the gaze of someone who had walked too close to death too many times and no longer feared what came next. Murmurs cracked the silence like static. That's him, the SEAL who shot a general. Should have known, stubborn, black, and trained. A dangerous mix. No remorse. Just look at him. Click, flash, cameras, scoffs. Malik said nothing. When brought to the witness stand, he didn't flinch, didn't look around. Hands cuffed at his waist, calloused fingers locked in submission. The same hands that once pulled triggers with millimeter precision. People had names for him. Traitor. SEAL gone rogue. Disgrace to the uniform. Since the arrest, he hadn't fought back. No appeals. No press interviews. In prison, he was assaulted by guards, mocked by inmates, labeled a danger to morale. He had said only one thing in every report. I pulled the trigger, but I didn't kill an innocent man. No one listened. Wait a second. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us. Because the man who died, Major General Franklin Hawthorne, was white, decorated, and respected. A hero, buried with honors in Arlington. And Malik? Just a black soldier with a disciplinary record, a history of disobedience, and a line in his file that read, "Tends to act independently, under pressure." This was not a trial. It was a sentence already whispered into place. The judge's gavel struck. A silver-haired colonel, stone-faced, opened the proceedings. The prosecutor stood, voice clipped and cold. The defendant, Malik Rowe, is charged with the murder of General Hawthorne during a hostage rescue operation on April 11th. The state recommends life in prison without parole. No one flinched. They all nodded. Justice was moving along as expected. Malik remained still. His defense attorney sighed, fingers trembling over a file no thicker than a napkin. No alibi, no witness, only grainy body cam footage, already trimmed by military hands. And then, the courtroom door burst open. Heads turned. Gasps. Admiral Gregory Harlan entered, commander of the Atlantic Fleet, one of the most powerful figures in the U.S. military. He wore full-dress whites, brass buttons gleaming, eyes sharp. Medals lined his chest like battle scars. But today he wasn't here for the ceremony. The judge blinked. "Admiral Harlan, what brings you?" The admiral didn't respond. He stepped into the center of the room, facing the jury, the press, the prosecutors, and every judging stare trained on Malik. He spoke slowly, his voice carried like war drums. "He does not deserve this." Gasps. What did he just say? Is he defending him? This changes everything. The prosecution stiffened. The judge narrowed his eyes. Pens froze mid-sentence. For the first time, Malik looked up. Their eyes locked. Not as defendant and witness, but as soldiers, as men who'd been in the same mud. Then, the admiral turned to the bench. "I have reason to believe this trial lacks the full truth. I request an immediate delay in proceedings, to submit new evidence." And in that moment, for the first time, everyone realized this might not be just a murder case. It might be the cover-up of the year. Over a year ago, the name Malik Rowe had once appeared in military reports, accompanied by rare praise. Born in Georgia, raised in the roughest part of South Atlanta, this sharp-eyed black boy with hands steady as stone once left SEAL instructors speechless. A sniper prodigy. That's what they called him. Malik possessed almost inhuman vision and a cold patience. He could lie motionless in sand for 18 hours just to land a single shot. But no one in the military is perfect. Malik carried a scar, not on his body, but in his spirit. He was hot-headed, blunt, allergic to bullshit. Superiors said he disrespected command. Teammates knew better. Malik fought for ideals, and when those ideals clashed with orders, he chose the ideal. He'd been reprimanded for confronting a sergeant during a civil raid in Kabul, when his unit tried to clear a house before checking who lived there. He once left a sniper perch to carry back a wounded girl, nearly costing the team their flank. And once, he smashed his comm into the sand, when a general ordered radio silence while civilians screamed for help. Malik had faced internal reviews more than once, but his kill record was too good, his discipline under fire unmatched. So they kept him in, trusted him even on top-tier missions. Until that one night, Operation Omega Spark, a top-secret hostage rescue on the edge of Al-Hasaka, Syria. An 8-man SEAL team, led by Major General Franklin Hawthorne, was sent to infiltrate a rebel-occupied compound. Intelligence said 3 U.S. diplomats were inside. Malik was the sole sniper, stationed at the southeast watchpoint. Orders were clear: hold your position. No fire, unless commanded. But at 2:19 a.m., the radio crackled shouts, explosions, and then a sharp voice. Take the shot. Malik didn't wait. He scanned. Through his scope, he saw women and children fleeing the back exit, and one figure in a U.S. uniform pointing a gun at them. He fired. The bullet struck dead center in the left shoulder. That man was General Hawthorne. He died on the spot. At base, Malik was disarmed, isolated, and questioned immediately. Oddly, no team member gave a clear statement about what happened. Body cam footage from another SEAL captured only fragments, the critical final seconds mysteriously missing. What remained in the report were 2 facts. Malik fired without direct command. His bullet killed a decorated general. From there, the story was rewritten by those who weren't there. Malik tried to explain that Hawthorne was about to shoot civilians to cover a botched strategy, that he was no hero, but a man willing to kill innocents to protect military optics. No one listened. You shot a 3-star general, an interrogator snapped. You really think people will believe you over him? Malik was stripped of rank, his file stamped unfit for service. The military stayed silent, the press vague, but the internet had already crowned him the traitor SEAL, and so the military prison welcomed him like an enemy behind friendly lines. He was placed in solitary. Guards kicked over his food tray. Inmates threw urine. One night, 2 masked men nearly killed him if the cell camera hadn't blinked on. Malik never retaliated, never begged. He just survived. Quiet. Each day, a battle no one noticed or cared if he was still standing. Now, standing in that courtroom, people stared at him as if staring down a monster in uniform. That look, he could shoot a CO in the back and sleep fine. Black. Special ops. Dangerous squared. Is that a soldier, or just instinct in combat boots? No one remembered the time Malik dragged a wounded Iraqi man out of crossfire. No one mentioned how he once took a bullet for a teammate in Sudan. No one recalled how he inspired younger recruits dreaming of SEAL glory. To them now, he was just the man who killed a general. They waited only for his punishment to restore the honor they believed he'd shattered. So when Admiral Gregory Harlan stepped into that courtroom and said, "He doesn't deserve this," the walls shook. No one could understand why a 4-star admiral known for discipline and impartiality would vouch for a disgraced black SEAL accused of betrayal. Malik didn't lift his head, but for the first time in over a year, his eyes sparked, not with hope, but something even more defiant, a sliver of light at the bottom of a deep, dark well. Section 2. No one in that June morning courtroom expected the words "he doesn't deserve this" from Admiral Gregory Harlan to land like a bomb. But they did, cracking the walls of silence that had long sealed the case of Malik Rowe. Without pause, the Admiral strode forward and placed a black, classified stamped dossier onto the judge's bench. "Your Honors," he said, voice firm as a command. I request an immediate suspension of the trial for Malik Rowe. I hold in my hands evidence that was never reviewed. Evidence that could completely change the nature of this case. The presiding colonel narrowed his eyes. The prosecutor jumped to object, but was swiftly overruled. Because no one interrupts a four-star admiral, especially when he's invoking the honor of the military itself. This is not interference, Harlan continued. This is accountability. If this military still believes in justice, we cannot convict a man based on emotion and omissions. The trial was paused for 4. Back at Norfolk Naval Base, in his private office, Harlan personally reopened every record of the Rowe case, every page, every log. He read with the burden of a man who had buried too many soldiers in too many deserts, and didn't want to bury another wrongfully. He began with the body cam footage from SEAL team member Peterson, the only one who returned from Operation Omega Spark uninjured. The video was just 3 minutes long. It showed the team breaching the building, neutralizing threats. But near the end, right when Malik was ordered to hold position and Hawthorne separated from the squad, the footage abruptly cut to black. Gone. Why is this file incomplete? Harlan asked, his voice low and cold. The tech responded nervously. Sir, the original file was lost. Peterson's body cam was destroyed in an explosion. What we have is just a cached clip from a backup server. No one could explain how critical footage from a SEAL mission tied to a murder charge had gone missing, and Harlan, an officer who'd sniffed out his share of cover-ups, began to smell rot. He ordered a sweep of the physical evidence archive, where all confiscated gear, memory cards, recorders were stored. Among the dust and neglect, he found it, a small Olympus voice recorder labeled H. Hawthorne. It had been tagged irrelevant to case and tossed in a discard bin. Get me a clean audio extraction, he told the tech team. Alone in his office, Harlan listened to the recording. His fingers clenched the edge of the desk. The first voice was unmistakably Hawthorne's, low, commanding, and cold. If no one dies, there's no reason to pull out. This mission's botched. We need a body to cover it up. I won't take the fall for this. Then another voice, tight with fury. Malik, you are going to shoot civilians? Silence. Then, bang, a single gunshot sliced through the air. End of tape. Harlan stood, shoulders rigid, hands trembling. Not from fear, but from fury. He had led thousands, filed hundreds of after-action reports. But never had he imagined one of his own generals planning to execute civilians to protect a failed mission. Now the truth was crystal clear. Hawthorne was wrong. Malik had stopped him, and that act of defiance had made him the scapegoat. 2 days later, the courtroom was silent as the audio played. Once, twice, each time, the room grew colder, air sucked from lungs that didn't know how to process what they heard. Some jaws dropped, others bowed their heads. Veterans wiped sweat from their brows. Young officers sat stiff-backed, stunned into stillness. The colonel judge ordered it, played again. And again, each replay was a blade sawing through the myth built around a 3-star general's death. The once defiant prosecutor now sat speechless. No more thunder in his voice, only quiet shame. And Malik, still, silent, but for the first time in over a year, his eyes blinked rapidly. Not from tears, but from something deeper. The moment someone finally listened. The moment someone finally saw. He had been labeled a traitor, a disgrace, a killer. No one had ever asked why he pulled the trigger. But now, finally, the truth had spoken for him, and it came from the most unexpected place. A man in white, with stars on his shoulders, and justice in his voice. After the recording was played, after the gasps, after the rising murmurs that rippled through the courtroom like shockwaves, the judge called for a 15-minute recess to allow the panel to one final time. No one left their seat. Every eye locked on Malik Rowe, the black man bound for a year by chains not of steel, but of prejudice. He didn't cry. He simply clenched his fists, thumb rubbing against forefinger, as if replaying the sensation of pulling that trigger. Then the judge returned, holding the verdict in his hands. After reviewing all newly submitted evidence, testimony, recovered audio, and the personnel record of the accused, Malik wrote, a pause, heavy as stone. This court finds the defendant guilty of violating Article 90 of the UCMJ, disobeying a lawful order on the battlefield. However, the act does not constitute first-degree murder, but excessive preventive force used in a critical situation. Another breath. Then, the sentence is commuted to 18 months. Time served. The defendant is to be released immediately. No applause, but no protest either. The silence wasn't acceptance. It was awakening. A courtroom realizing, maybe for the first time, that in war, right and wrong can't always be found in a chain of command. And sometimes, a defiant bullet saves a buried truth. As the cuffs were removed, Malik stood. He looked around, not to confront, but to find one person. His eyes landed on Admiral Gregory Harlan, standing quietly in the back, hands behind his back, gaze steady and unblinking. Malik walked toward him. No salute, no formality, just one man meeting another. Thank you, Malik said. Not for believing in me, but for believing in justice. The Admiral nodded. His gaze softened. You're a damn good soldier, Ro. Brave. Loyal. But, his voice dropped, you let emotion guide you too far. A righteous act without control still took a life. And that life matters. I won't ignore the truth, but I won't forget the cost. Malik gave a quiet nod. He understood. No verdict could erase the fact that a man had died by his hand, even if that death prevented something far worse. Then, the Admiral placed a hand on Malik's shoulder. It was heavy, not with condemnation, but with something weightier, accountability. You lost the uniform, but you kept your dignity. After the trial, Malik refused interviews. He vanished from the headlines. Months later, someone spotted him, not in combat gear, but at a wilderness camp for children in Colorado. He was a survival skills instructor, teaching kids how to pitch tents, build fires, track the wind, and, most importantly, how to stay grounded when the world around you falls apart. He rarely spoke about his past. To the kids, he was just Coach Malik. Quiet, observant, and always there when someone stumbled or feared the dark. On moonlit nights when the forest whispered and the camp slept, some of the braver kids claimed they saw him sitting alone at the tree line, staring up at the sky. One September afternoon, under a crisp blue sky, Malik drove to an old naval base by the sea. No uniform, just jeans and a dark button-up. Admiral Harlan, now retired after 40 years, was in the garden behind his modest home, watering plants. They saw each other. No salute, no small talk. Malik sat on the stone bench across from him. You doing all right? He asked. Still breathing, Harlan said with a faint smile. Time passed. The shadows stretched. Tea grew cold. Then Malik said, I used to think, if someone saved you, they had to know you. Be family. Same skin, same blood. The Admiral didn't answer. Malik looked at him. But I learned, sometimes it's enough that they just believe in right and wrong. Harlan set his teacup down. You're wrong about one thing, Ro. I didn't save you. Malik raised an eyebrow. I saved the justice we almost let slip away. They didn't smile, but something passed between them, quiet as the sky. After a storm, that evening, Malik returned to the camp. The kids swarmed him like bees to their hive. Coach, are we hiking far today? Are we climbing the ridge? Tell us a story. A real one. With wolves. Malik chuckled softly, said nothing, just motioned for them to line up. And then, like fledglings following a steady wing, he led them through the trees, bathed in the gold of a dying sun. No applause, no medals, no rewriting history. Just a man walking forward, step by step, with the part of himself that never stopped believing in something greater than orders. The quiet, stubborn pulse of honor. Justice isn't a privilege reserved for the powerful. It's the light waiting for those brave enough to step out of the shadows and defend the truth. Malik wasn't perfect. He was impulsive, defiant, and once branded a traitor. But in a life-or-death moment, he chose to protect human dignity over obeying a corrupt command. And in the end, it wasn't a medal or a rank that saved him, but the integrity of a stranger, Admiral Harlan, a man who had never met him, yet stood up when no one else would. They didn't share the same skin color. They didn't stand on equal ground. But they believed in the same truth. Honor doesn't live in a uniform. It lives in how we face our mistakes, and in whether we have the courage to make them right. Because sometimes, redemption isn't born from medals, but from the quiet, unwavering pursuit of fairness.